James here. Hey guys, James here. Absolutely amazing to be here online with you in this group. I'm not sure if you guys know me or not. I'm married to Alicia, who runs this group. My name's James. Now, I'm actually using this on my laptop, and it's all brand new. It looks really different to what it normally does. So you'll just have to bear with me as I go live. But what I really wanted to chat with you about today is something that's really close to my heart. Now, if you don't know me, I am a business coach. I actually work with Alicia. We're business coaches specifically for massage therapists. My background is that I ran a digital marketing agency for 13 years. So I know a heap about marketing. I've touched base with a lot of different business people. But a big part of business coaching is getting to understand how people work, as well as all the businessy stuff, as well as the money and the marketing and the sales and the whatever else. There's a heap to do with how people work. And part of this is that as a business owner, as an entrepreneur myself, and through working with a lot of them, it is really, really powerful as a business person to be able to know how to take advantage of our own behaviors. Hey, and I can see a couple of people that I do know on here already. Jody, Jason, great to see you guys on board live. A bunch of other people joining as well. Feel free to say hi. I'd love to be able to chat with you as we go. But what I wanted to share today is a framework that I've been using with some of our clients. And when I read this book, it absolutely changed the way that I understand myself as well. As a bit of an introduction, I want you to think about this. Is there something in your life that you sometimes feel like you would like to do, but you don't? Or something that you would like to not do, but you do it? And one of the great examples that I can think of for this is something like regular exercise. How many times have you told yourself, I want to get fit, I pretty much know how. Up in here, I know how to get fit. I just need to get up early a couple of times a week, go for a run, go to the gym, whatever. And maybe the very first time you do it, you actually do it, and after that, you just don't again. And you might even think to yourself, I know what I need to do, I know why I want to do it, but somehow I still just can't seem to make myself. Now, I've had that experience myself. I would be good for a while and then find it really difficult to keep going. And one of the things that I found really helped me, that you guys might have noticed this as well, is if you have accountability, if you have someone else that you're going to run with, it makes it much easier to get up out of bed and go meet them. I go running once a week with my friend John. We meet main beach of Ocean Grove, 6 a.m. Thursday mornings. And I know that if I don't go, he'll be waiting for me. Like, I just wouldn't do that. I wouldn't not get up and go. If it's just for myself, maybe, maybe not. But when it's for someone else, it's different. Now, that's sort of one story that some people I'm sure can relate to. Other people it might not resonate so much, but it's quite a common story. Let me tell you another one. A little while back, I'm going back maybe 3 or 4 years, I was in a program learning some stuff from a guy to do with business. And one of the things that he threw into the mix, no particular reason, but he was teaching a bit of mindset stuff like this, I guess, in his program as well. One of the things he threw out there is that having a cold shower every morning is amazing for your health. Stuff to do with lymph nodes and resetting internal swelling and rah-rah-rah and energy and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, this guy seems pretty cool. I'll give it a shot. Had maybe 3 cold showers and just went, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. And I never did it again. Well, no, that's not true. I didn't do it for years. And then I had an experience where at the end of last year, or towards the end of last year, around September 2019, I read this book. I can't even remember exactly what it was called now. Oh no, I can. It was called Win Your Day, Win Your Life, or Win the Day, Win Your Life. It was like a little book written by a personal trainer, a bit about health, a bit about exercise, all that kind of stuff. But it was basically about how to create a routine that makes the biggest difference possible to your health. And he talked about having cold showers every morning, and as well as a bunch of other stuff. But he talked about why you would do it and what the outcomes were, the amazing benefits, how relatively easy it is, all this kind of stuff. And I just started having cold showers every morning again. And I've literally been going for, what is it now, June? So I've been going for 9, 10 months of having cold showers every single morning. I have not missed a single morning since then. I don't even know exactly why, but I started the habit because it seemed like a good idea. No one's holding me accountable to this, and yet I still do it. Now, I'm not sure, some people probably can relate to that. These are the people who do get up, they go swimming early in the morning, they go running, they do their work outside, they've always done their homework when they're at school. some people just naturally have a tendency to do the things that they want to do, whereas others, we tend to want to do things, but somehow still not really understand how to actually make ourselves do them regularly and on purpose. Now, who can relate to this? If you're watching this live right now, I'd love it if you give me a little thumbs up or a wave or something just to say, yeah, James, like I experience this all the time. What I want to do is bring you a little insight around how this entire spectrum of expectations and how we meet them, how it works. And this is not something I made up. It's created by Gretchen Rubin. She actually wrote a book called The Four Tendencies. And she talks about the question that we can ask ourselves, which is, how do I respond to expectations? And there's basically two types of expectations that Gretchen talks about. Number one is external expectations, expectations that we have that are given to us by someone outside, whether that's by a teacher or a boss or a partner or a family member or a friend. Like, it can be any kind of expectation that we have coming from someone external. The example of my friend John expecting me to be there at 6 a.m. on a Thursday morning to run with him is an external expectation. He expects it of me. The other type of expectation is an internal expectation. This is something that I expect of myself, something that I've decided to do for myself, and I expect or I want that I will do it. This is the thing where we might say to ourselves, I want to get fit, so I want to get up at 6 a.m. 3 mornings a week, whatever that is. I have an internal expectation of myself to do that. So there's two types of expectations, external and internal. Now, all of us have external and internal expectations. They're always there. But the challenge is, do we meet them or do we not? Do we meet them or do we resist them? Because when you look at it, we either meet or resist either our external or internal expectations. And when we look at this, it basically means that there's 4 different possibilities here. This is what the 4 circles are about, right? It's either meeting or resisting internal and or the external expectations. And where you lie on this spectrum explains a heap about what your behavior is. And sometimes it's so revealing that it can make it seem like, wow, now that I understand this, I can change it. And that's kind of the point. So have a look at this with me as we go. And remember, this is called The Four Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin. I'll put a link to it in the notes after this. But what I want to show you first is the most common type of person when it comes to this. And I'll draw this over here. I hope this comes out the right way for you. You'll have to let me know if the writing is around the right way. Obliger is the first type of person when it comes to this. And this basically is someone who, when they have outer expectations, they meet them, tick for outer, but when it comes to inner, no. They don't meet inner expectations. What this means is, an obliger is the kind of person who needs an accountability buddy. Me going to meet my friend John at the beach is an obliger kind of thing. They tend to oblige other people. This can be absolutely fantastic in some ways because it means if you have a goal that you want to meet, all you need to do is line up a group or an accountability or a class or something to help you actually have some external accountability around it. And that means you'll get it done. You can actually use that knowledge about how you yourself are driven to be able to help yourself get more stuff done, right? If I'm an obliger, it doesn't mean anything good or bad. It just means this is how I know I can get stuff done. What it does also mean is we or they can tend to resist internal expectations. And this can be incredibly frustrating for some obligers until they know this secret and can crack it. It's like, but I want to get fit. I want to learn how to draw. I want to do this. I want to do that. But then when they fail, it's often because other people have asked them to do other things and they feel obliged to help out those other people instead of themselves. So you can quite often hear obligers saying or thinking, I do what I have to do. You know, I hate to let others down, but I often let myself down. And that can be the big challenge for obligers. How can they still live up to their own internal goals, their own desires, their own authentic internal fulfillment when their natural tendency is to do what other people ask and not themselves so much? And the way to do it is to put yourself in situations where other people are holding you accountable to your own goals. So classes, groups, accountability buddies, that kind of stuff. Obliger. If you think you're an obliger, you can give me a little thumbs up and see what you think. Now I'm going to go next to the one up the top here. Upholder. Now, an upholder, when it comes to outer and inner, upholders are actually really good at meeting both of them, outer and inner expectations. What does this mean? It usually means these are the overachievers, honestly. They're the people who do what other people ask of them and also somehow make time and energy to do what they expect of themselves. These are the people you might know that, they get up early in the morning, they go to the gym, they have a run before breakfast, they're eating ruddy, organic granola, and then they're getting to work, putting in a fantastic day's work, meeting everybody's expectations. All the clients love them. They get home, they're looking after their kids, they're cooking dinner, they're doing all that stuff. Now, the challenge for upholders is they can end up just doing a hell of a lot, right? It seems like a fantastic place to be. And I know lots and lots of people who say, I wish I was an upholder. I wish I could just meet my own expectations as well as everyone else's. But the challenge with that is burnout. It's like if you're doing all that stuff, literally, sometimes you just need to be able to take a rest. And so what you'll find upholders often say is, I do what others expect of me and what I expect of myself. And sometimes I feel a bit burnt out by that. I don't get enough time and I run low on energy. And so if that's you, the thing to do is to set an expectation for getting some rest. Because as soon as you can say to yourself, well, rest is an important part of achieving my goals, then you've got an inner expectation that that's what you'll do. You can just straight away meet that expectation relatively easily, work it into the rhythm of life and have that happening. Now, the third one I'm going to share with you is called questioner. Now, when it comes to questioners are kind of the opposite to obligers. Questioners resist outer expectations, but meet inner expectations. What this means is they're really good at doing their own thing, but they don't really care so much about what other people think. Now, I shouldn't say they don't care. They do care, but they don't necessarily meet that expectation just naturally. The thing with a questioner is they ask lots of questions. That's why it's called that. So if you were to say to me, you should get up and run 3 times a week down the beach, I would say, why? Why would I do that? Or what's that going to do for me? Explain to me the science behind it or what the outcomes are going to be. And then if it's something that I want to get to, then yeah, I might decide. The classic example of this is when I read this book, right, about having showers early in the morning. It described to me what the benefits were, why this guy in particular had done it, the amazing results he got from it. You don't get sick, you feel really good, it's all this health stuff. And straight away I'm like, oh, that makes sense now, I'm going to do it. And then I just did it. It didn't take anybody else holding me accountable. In fact, other people are kind of the opposite. They look at me a bit weirdly, like, why on earth would you do that? But because I had that just inner decision to make that happen, it happened. That's an inner expectation being met without the outer so much. Now, sometimes this can be kind of a pain. If you're married to a questioner, every time you ask them to do anything, they'll just be like, why? Or what does that mean? What are we expecting to get from this? And if you're not a questioner, if you're an obliger, it can seem like they're being really rude, right? Because why do you have to ask? Can't you just do it because I asked you to? And what you've got to realize is that that's not how questioners are wired. They're not trying to be rude. They're literally just trying to take that external expectation and push it inside. The way to do that is to make a decision for themselves that they want to meet it. And to do that, they need to ask questions. So it's very, very natural for questioners to question. It's not rude. It's just how they are. And the last one down here, these guys are called rebels. Now, rebels, you might guess, when it comes to outer and inner, they resist both. And the challenge with rebels is sometimes they don't even know why. They kind of want to do things internally and then they find that they're not doing them. Someone will ask them to do stuff, and even if they kind of feel like it might be a good idea, they still just don't want to do it because someone else asked them to do it. They have this rebellious nature about them. Now, luckily, this is actually the smallest percentage of the world. Some people think they're rebels because they like to be rebellious in some part of their nature. But when it comes specifically to expectations, remember that's what we're talking about with this framework. How do they respond to expectations? Often rebellion can be questioners, or it can just be a time of life where they're wanting to rebel and form an identity. Rebels, literally, looking at your comment there, Jeffrey, but rebels literally want to resist. They might say something like, I do what I want in my own way. And if you tell me to do something, I'm actually less likely to do it because I've been told and I want to rebel. They need to choose their own path. Now, this can be kind of frustrating even for the rebels themselves because they consistently sort of try to set goals and then can't meet them. And one of the things you might find with rebels is to try and frame it for yourself, or if you happen to know a rebel or be married to one or working with one or whatever, if you have a rebel, you have to treat them a little bit differently to how you would if you want to ask them to do something, if you would if they were one of the other types. Rebels, you often have to refer to their internal nature, their sort of bigger identity of themselves. So you might say, you're the kind of person who is great at helping out your family. That's a value that you've got. So I'd ask that you could help me with the dishes tonight. This kind of thing. Appealing to the higher identity makes it easier for them to make a decision because they're not doing it because you asked them to. They're not even doing it because this particular task has an expectation internally that they might have with it, but they're doing it because they're the kind of person that does that. It kind of takes the expectations out of the situation altogether as far as just an expectation goes and draw it back to something bigger. And you can also deal with rebels by giving them choice. Rebels like to be able to choose to do something, not feel like it's an expectation. So instead of saying stuff like, can you help me with the dishes? A rebel, you might say something like, look, the dishes are there. I really need one of you guys to help with it. If you would help me with the dishes, that would be fantastic. Or otherwise, if you don't want to, it would be great if you could take the rubbish out instead. Give them a bit of a choice, because then even though that's really a choice of two things that you want some help with, but having choice means that there's not that strong expectation. They don't feel the rise of rebellion within them, and they'll just flow along a bit more easily. Now, I want to give you another example of this. If you're a parent and you have kids, or if you're in a family with other people, it's a typical example of this last night. This is an insight into the Crook household and how we operate here. We watched The Voice last night on TV, which I don't particularly like, but the kids have been trying to get into it. Since Lego Masters finished, they've been trying to get us into another TV show. So we watched The Voice. It finished a little bit later than they would normally go to bed on a school night. So we head upstairs, brush your teeth, jump in your PJs, get into bed fairly quickly, kids. And Aniella just goes, brushes her teeth, right? She's our little upholder. She really does what we ask fairly well and really wants to meet her own expectations as well. Gets quite upset if, for example, she misses a deadline at school or can't go see her friends or feels like she doesn't fit in somewhere. She's very much an upholder. Toby, on the other hand, our son, very much a rebel. So we ask him to brush his teeth. Oh, I already did them. And I'm like, he didn't. We literally walked upstairs together. Oh, I did them earlier. Well, you can do them again then, we've had tea since then. Oh, massive argument, doesn't want to brush his teeth. And I'm just like, what the hell? It's teeth. Just brush them. We do this every night before we go to bed. But the fact that it happens every night, to me as a questioner, it's like I internalize that kind of stuff, works perfectly fine. Someone asks me to do something, I'll kind of just decide whether I want to do it or not. As a rebel, there's something in him, as well as being a teenage boy, there's something in him that just doesn't want to do what he's told, right? Doesn't want to do what he's asked. Even if he kind of knows that it's a good idea, he doesn't want to. So it's very challenging to have, when that rebellious nature is firing up, very challenging to have normal conversations with someone like that and help them to get where they want to go. But what I really want to help you with is how to manage yourself. If you are an obliger, to be able to meet your own goals, it becomes around how can I partner with someone else who will hold me accountable, join a class or a group, or get some external person to hold me, to set an expectation for me that also aligns with what I want. If you're an upholder, you're not going to have too much trouble meeting your own goals, but where you might fail is in judging others who don't. It can be very easy for upholders to just not understand why won't you just brush your teeth? And as an upholder, I just kind of get that. Why can't you just do it? It can feel a little bit judgmental to other people. So you've got to be able to open your compassion and also learn to rest so that you can do that thoroughly. Questioners, it's about understanding that not everyone thinks the same way that you do. And sometimes you need to be able to rest on decisions that other people have done and internalize that. It's like, why do I need to brush my teeth every day? And of course you can have all the facts and figures that would explain that to you. But sometimes the why just needs to be because mum and dad said so, and mum and dad know what they're talking about. If as a questioner you have trouble trusting other people or making quick decisions, it can be that you need to be able to tell yourself that an authority figure has made this decision easier for me, whether that's a parent or a trusted authority, an expert in the space. Questioners can help themselves with that. If you're a rebel or you live or work with rebels, it can be quite challenging. But remember that the thing to appeal to is identity. You're the kind of person who does this kind of stuff. You can say that even to yourself. I'm the kind of person who does this kind of stuff. It's not an expectation. It's just who I am. I just do this. Once you've got that, you can do it. Or give yourself plenty of choice. Instead of a to-do list, one of the great recommendations for a rebel is have a might-do list, possible list, possibility list. Because if they're things that you could do, a could-do list, then it takes the pressure off it being an expectation. It's just things I could do. I might choose to do some right now, I might choose to do some later, I might not choose to do some at all. And when it's a could-do list, it takes that pressure off and you can actually move through it more easily. As long as the expectation is not there to get them all done, it's all good. So hopefully that can help you understand a little bit more about yourself and your motivation to get done what you want to do, and also the people around you in your family, at work, your friends even, how you can maybe connect with them a bit more easily, help them to be able to meet their expectations and understand why they react to you sometimes in the way that they do. Now, if you want to follow this up, there's two great things you can do. Number one is Gretchen Rubin has a book about this. It's a great read, quite easy. She's a great author. But even if you don't want to get into the entire book, there's actually a quiz you can do. Gretchen Rubin has a quiz. You fill it out, it tells you which tendency you are, and then gives you a little video training, just it's like 1 or 2 minutes, about the tendency and about the strengths, challenges, and how to interact with other people around that. I'm actually going to pop it into the comments here. Oh, no, I haven't copied it, so just give me a sec. I'll pop in the link to the quiz. Here it is. Pop that in here for you. So it's in the comments box there right now from me. It's quiz.gretchenrubin.com. So Gretchen Rubin is the author, but click the link if you want to get the exact spelling. And I reckon after this live is finished, go do the quiz and then drop in there which one of the 4 tendencies you are. Comment with either upholder, questioner, obliger, or rebel. And maybe if you want to, just write a sentence or two about the insight that has brought you doing the quiz, watching the video, and what it might do for you and your relationships. Love it, guys. It's been absolutely fantastic to chat with you today. I really love this group. I love the wisdom that's coming through, the inspiration that's coming through, and the amazing things that you guys are doing as you watch as well. Cheers. Catch up with you soon.